this thing on? I think so. Whatever. Don't care. Okay. YouTube, still loading. We got Instagram. Is it coming through? It is. Okay, cool. Okay, now it's coming through. All right, perfect. All right. So I was thinking to myself, should I actually do educational shits, or can I play video games?
Super quick question.
And then I thought,
you're showing your split,
why not do both? So
quad focus
we're gonna see how this
days,
goes.
glute focus days.
Oh. All right. I'm trying out this stream setup. We got 2 desktops. It's a very annoying setup, but we'll see how it goes today.
Super quick questions. When you're sharing your split, you were saying you have quad focus days.
Oh, wait, context. Hold on. Before I even start this video, okay? The thumbnail, hold on. The thumbnail was, you need to start stretching. That was the name of the video,
quick
right?
questions. When you're sharing
You need
your
to start
split,
stretching.
you were saying you have quad focus days,
Now,
glute focus days.
I'm seeing
Do you
in
ever
the
decide
preview
to
why you
just
should start
omit
stretching.
a muscle because you're like,
It's a little
well,
different.
I wanna
Just
go my
saying.
booty,
It's a
but
little
for me
different, you know.
personally,
Little
hamstring
clickbait.
quads,
It's
those
okay.
guys are big enough. I wanna
Nothing wrong
do
with
those.
that.
Or do you purposely, like, let's say you don't want a muscle group to get bigger, but you continue to make yourself do it because it's just important to work every muscle from like a well-rounded lifting point of view?
I usually will, like, at the end of the day, even if there's a muscle, I'm like, okay, I don't really, like, want to show this anymore. I'll work it at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I like working out.
Okay, got it.
But, yes, definitely, like, right now, that split that I was giving you, there's not a lot of upper body. Like, I used to do a lot more upper body. But I was like, okay, naturally, I'm already, like, pretty X-shaped, which means, like, my upper and my lower, like, are pretty even, which is cool. But I was like, you know what?
Me too. I'm X-shaped
Yeah.
too.
I was like,
I cannot hear it. Okay. All right, we gotta mess with the volume a little bit. I'll do it after. Oh, actually, I kind of do it. I'll let myself die. Oh, wait, she missed! I was standing still. Hold on, I'll let her kill me. Okay, there we go. Egg-shaped. Damn. Okay. Let's fix this little bit.
Super quick questions. When you're sharing your split, you were saying you have quad focus days, glute focus days. Do you ever decide to just
bring it
omit
down to
a
like
muscle
half.
because you're like, well, I want to go my booty, but for me personally, hamstring quads, those guys are big enough.
Okay.
I wouldn't do those. Or do you purposely, like, let's say maybe you don't want a muscle
Go
group to
back.
get bigger, but you continue to make yourself do it because it's just important to work every muscle from like a well-rounded lifting point of view?
I usually will, like, at the end of the day, even if there's a muscle, I'm like, okay, I don't really, like, want to grow this anymore. I'll work it at least a little bit
Yeah.
because I like working out.
Okay, got it.
But yes, definitely, like, right now, that split that I was giving you, there's not a lot of upper body. Like, I used to do a lot more upper body, but I was like, okay, naturally, I'm already, like, pretty X-shaped, which means, like, my upper and my lower, like, are pretty even, which is cool. I was like, you know what?
Me too. I'm X-shaped
Yeah,
too.
I was like, I feel like I'd want to grow my legs, so I kind of like paused the upper body, even though I love working upper body. I kind of want to just see if
Yeah. She's talking about how it's like, so the clickbait. Okay, first there's context that's needed. The title of her YouTube video is
Super quick
"You need to
questions.
start stretching," and I saw that and I got baited by it. I got clickbaited. I fell for the clickbait. All right, you need to start stretching, but in the preview for the video it says why you should start stretching. A little weird, a little different, you know, a little bit different. So I'm seeing what the context.
You were saying you have quad focus.
Also, this is lean beef patty. She's a lean beef patty. She's actually a pretty good YouTuber. She's pretty big. She's she usually has like good
Focus
information.
days.
So
Do you
I might
ever
find something to
decide
disagree
to
with.
just omit a muscle because
Lean
you're like,
beef
well,
patty.
I want to grow my booty,
Yeah.
but for me personally, personally, hamstring quads, those guys are big enough. I wouldn't do those. Or do you purposely?
Oh, and then she has
something you
Andrea
don't want a
Botez
muscle
on,
group
who's
to
like a
get
chess
bigger,
YouTuber,
but you
completely
continue to
outside of
make
the fitness
yourself do
world.
it
But I
because
mean,
it's just
it's an
important
interesting
to work
crossover there.
every muscle from like a well-rounded lifting point of view.
I usually will, like, at the end of the day, even if there's a muscle, I'm like, okay, I don't really like want to grow this anymore. I'll work it at least a little bit
Yeah.
because I like working out.
Okay, got it.
But yes, definitely. Like right now, that split that I was giving you, there's not a lot of upper body. Like I used to do a lot more upper body, but I was like, okay, naturally I'm already like pretty X shaped, which means like my upper and my lower like are pretty even, which is cool. But I was like, you know what?
Me too. I'm X-shaped
Yeah.
too.
I was like, I feel like I'd want to grow my legs. So I kind of like paused the upper body, even though I love working upper body. I kind of want to just see if I can change my aesthetics a little bit. It's been tough. I've also known like competitors in
I just got one
bodybuilding.
shot.
For
What the
example, I
fuck?
have this friend who's about to compete in like a month. And she actually stopped working her glutes for like a couple of months because her glutes were so big. I was like, wow, I wish I had that problem. Yeah, but so that's
Okay,
not
I'll give
an
my take at
uncommon
the
thing
end.
to do.
All
I
right.
was wondering if it's like frowned upon because I've had trainers tell
I'll
me
let her cook for a
like,
little bit.
you have to do every muscle group because if you want to be able to squat a lot, you have to work your arms and your chest. And at some point, I just disagreed. I was like, I can work that muscle without needing the rest of my body, and I still.
What a problem to have. Oh,
You know,
my glutes are just so big, so I stopped working
muscles
them.
that I
Oh man.
even don't really feel are necessary for me to grow. I know it's good overall, but I was curious if people don't allow like omitting muscle groups when you're taking it really seriously.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have kind of like a belief that do what makes you happy. You know, at the end of the day, if you don't want to work something, don't work it. Who cares what anybody else says? You know, do your thing. I can kind of see what maybe that trainer was talking about because, like, at a certain point, you might develop some imbalances that can, like, hurt you or, like, potentially put you in danger to get injured during your workouts. But for the most part, I think it's pretty common to omit muscle groups if you don't want to do it, or if you're a competitor and that's already too developed, like it's pretty common for them to just like chill out.
And is there anything you do to avoid getting injured, especially at the start when you don't really know what you're doing?
I warm up, I do mobility, which is why I kind of try to post that a lot in my content because I feel like that's something a lot of people don't do.
Like,
Oh. Okay, now we're still fine.
I warm up.
Wait, okay, hold on. Wait, how far are we into this clip? He hasn't even mentioned stretching.
Mobility.
Wait, hold on.
Which
We
is
okay, we're
why I kind of
2 minutes and 53 seconds into this clip. This clip is 4 minutes and 43 seconds, and she
That
is
was
just starting to
glad
mention
you're
stretching.
an
So
advocate for that.
this is really not that much about stretching, but we'll let her cook. Okay, maybe she's building up to it.
I do mobility,
Okay.
which is why I kind of try to post that a lot in my content because I feel like that's something a lot of people don't do.
Like the leg stretching. That was.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're an advocate for that. That's
Okay, so she's talking about mobility. Okay, so she's kind of getting into the stretching stuff. So stretching
Something I didn't really
is
learn until
trying
recently.
to
Like, oh, you have to do it
expand
before
the
bed, you have to
range
change
of
the
a joint
Yeah.
angle, and
Yeah,
then
and specifically
mobility
for, like,
is
the
the
dynamic
movement between
stretching,
different joint angles.
even if
So
someone wasn't
it's kind of
working out,
loosely related to
doing that would
stretching.
still be
You
super
need
helpful just
kind
for,
of
like, your
stretching to get the
general health.
flexibility
Stay
to be able to do
mobile,
mobility,
like, as
but
they're getting older, like
she's kind of
doing
getting
that,
into it. But
stay
okay.
strong and independent. Things like
and
that.
how much time do you do those exercises for? And are you trying to target the muscles that you're going to work out with?
Yeah, I usually do it like if I'm doing leg day, I'll do like knee, hip, ankle focused mobility, and vice versa. If I'm doing upper body, it's like shoulders, back, wrists, whatever. Usually it depends. The warm up, I walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes to get warm, and then the mobility is like 5 to 15 minutes depending on how much I'm doing.
And actually, you have really good videos that
Thank
show
you.
how to do
Thank
stretches.
you.
So if anybody is curious,
No.
there's a lot of those as well. And then what about after the stretches at the end of the workout? And why are those
How she answers this is
A
gonna
lot
form
of
my
people
whole
forget to
opinion.
stretch after. They're like, I'm done with my workout.
Yeah.
I'm getting the heck out of here.
I will also confess I've been slacking on the post-workout stretches, but stretching after can be good, like depending what kind of stretching you're doing, or like if you're rolling out or something to kind of reduce soreness, reduce tension. If you want to work on flexibility after the workout, better because your body's warm. The tension you're putting your muscles in through static stretching is not really ideal to do before a workout, but after, it's like you're in a great position to do that. So maybe you want to increase flexibility. Great time after.
Alex is really gathering all the tips.
Sorry, I mean, we have you here. I
No,
need
that's
to know
okay.
all the tips.
Oh, based. I never hear people say this.
If you've ever experienced me,
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. Well, okay. She had some good stuff, and there was very little about stretching, if we're being real here. But she actually had a good take. So it's like, oh, what? No. No autoplay. Oh, I ended my knee pain. Okay, I don't care. Right? I don't care yet. I will care. Okay. Okay. So like, she basically said that like I do stretch sometimes between 5 to 15 minutes before working out, and like static stretching isn't that good necessarily. I don't really like to do it, or you might not be at the right point to do static stretching. All that's fine. The reality is, you don't really need to stretch really at all before you work out, unless you have like a very specific thing that you're trying to work on. And actually stretching before working out can actually do more harm than good, because if you just randomly start stretching, you're basically increasing your flexibility in ways that actually might not be good pre-workout. So there's a bunch of studies that have been done on like stretching before working out. It actually leads to like less power output when you're lifting. And it's because stiffness and having like tension at like the extreme ends of joint angle is like part of what helps you actually lift things with more force. And then on top of that, increasing your flexibility is not always good, because if you get injured, usually you get injured because you move a joint beyond the range of motion that it's supposed to, which could come from more flexibility where you don't want it. So it's just don't just randomly like stretch stuff before working out. All you need to do is, if you're gonna do an exercise, let's say your squat, you can just do like a body weight or a low warm-up weight to loosen up your muscles. And then that's all you really need to do, unless you have like a specific movement condition or a certain thing personal trainer is taking you through to like work through an imbalance. In general, you don't have to stretch. Everybody talks about, oh, you have to stretch for like this long before you work out. You don't really. In fact, you could be doing more harm than good. But she had pretty good takes. Also, the Botez sisters actually gave a good take too, and it's about like, actually they didn't really give a take. It was lean beef patty really, but it was really about like, people will be like, you should train certain parts of your body because you should just be like balanced, and every part of your body should be worked no matter what. So as a guy, you should have big legs just like big arms, and as a girl, you should have like a good upper body instead of like just like training your legs. And the truth is like, work out what you want to work out for whatever kind of physique you want. A lot of physiques that people want are kind of these more imbalanced physiques, which is like, you can say it's good or bad, but like it's just really what people like. People really like the imbalanced physique, like the slim thick looks. Really, a lot of girls like that look, and it's like, it's not that bad for you necessarily. Only at the like the super extremes is where it starts to get like dangerous for injury. But as long as you're working your upper body occasionally, a little bit in your workout program, like it's totally fine to focus more on lower body than upper body, if that's the kind of physique you're going for. And then as a guy, like, I make fun of guys for doing it, but it's actually fine, in all honesty, if you're just trying to work out for looks, to just do more upper body than lower body. Now, for guys though, I will say, if you have a somewhat strong lower body, it can help you get a stronger upper body too. Like some of the lower body stuff, like deadlift, for example, can help you get a bigger back. Like you can do as many different back exercises as you want, but if you're pulling 500 deadlift, then like your back is going to be put under a certain tension that you're not going to get with any other. Something to keep in mind. Oh shit, I'm almost dead. Hold on. I will switch the video in a second. Gotta lock in. Oh, I need to change it so I can see the chat. Oh shit. Oh, well, okay. Let me just so I'm ready. Okay. No! Fuck. Let me keep something else up. We've had enough weedy pouty. Let's do. Your wardrobe is poisoning you. I don't want to get baited. Don't. I'm gonna get baited. I'm gonna get rage baited. I'm not doing it. Oh, you guys can't even see this, actually. I looked up, like, one time, looked up at, like, toxic activewear or forever chemicals, and now the top of my feed is just about fabric blends and stuff like that. And I just don't care. The gut bacteria that grabs microplastics and pulls them out. Oh God, don't. Man. Okay, so I actually did a post on this, on microplastics. We looked at the different ways that microplastics can be absorbed, different ways that that they don't really break down. Basically, the summary on that one is like, is it bullshit that they are harmful? Not entirely. The real answer is we don't know. So we can't confidently say that they're bad for you, in the sense that, like, there's 0 human studies on microplastics. All of the stuff is animal studies, but I will say it doesn't look good. Just from the animal studies, it doesn't look great. Problem really is that, like, you just can't escape microplastics right now in the modern world. So reality is, like, a lot of the stuff is more legislation based or like systems based if you really wanted to have outrage about microplastics. But if you think you're just going to get like a glass or metal water bottle and avoid all microplastics, that's just not the case. But the gut bacteria. Okay, so we don't really have reliable methods of extracting microplastics from the body. Like, the science isn't even super clear on like how microplastics can be removed at all. So it's kind of, I feel like this is almost certainly something that's not true. Okay, I'll click it. I talked myself into it. All right. We'll talk about it. All right. I'm gonna get triggered. I already know I'm gonna get annoyed. I reacted to this lady's, this doctor, sorry, respect her title, of course. Reacted to this doctor's video last time.
You've probably heard already that we're consuming microplastics every single day. Most of what you see online tells you
in
to
a lot of
reduce your
underwear,
exposure.
for example,
And yes,
it uses
that
spandex,
matters,
does
and we'll get there.
microplastics.
But there's a
And
second question that
had a
almost
sponsor
no one is
that
asking,
is all cotton
and new
underwear.
research
That's
suggests
interesting
that
how
the
works.
answer might depend on something most people aren't paying attention to: what's living in your gut. I'm Dr. Yvonne Burkhardt, a PhD toxicologist with decades of experience studying how everyday chemicals interact with the body. And today, I want to walk you through what this research actually found, what its limitations are, and what you can do right now based on what we know. Most people picture microplastics moving through the digestive tract the way that fiber does. So in one end, processed through, and then out the other. But that's not the complete picture. One of my college students told me this analogy, and it really helped me understand how ingestion differs from absorption. So think of your gut like the hole of a donut. What you swallow travels through the hole, but not everything stays there. Some of it gets absorbed through the wall of your gut and ends up in your circulation. And microplastics are small enough to do exactly that. Researchers have now found microplastic particles in human blood, lung, placenta, gut, and ovaries. And in a 2024 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine in arterial plaques in the heart, people with microplastics lodged in their carotid arteries had a higher risk of heart attack and stroke over a 3-year follow-up period. And more recently, the presence of microplastics in a pregnant woman's body during the first trimester
So all of
has
this
been
is true.
associated with an increased risk of miscarriage. Now, ingestion does not
at a higher risk of heart attack and stroke over a 3-year follow-up period. And more recently, the presence of microplastics in a pregnant woman's body during the first trimester has been associated with an increased risk of
Hold on.
miscarriage.
Okay.
Now, ingestion does not.
Do you remember? Okay. The people here last stream. What did I just notice? What words did she use? Associated. This is associated. So this is another thing. People are always like, this is linked to this. This is associated with this. All that means is that there is a correlation. That literally just means two things are happening at the same time. That's all that means. That doesn't mean one thing caused the other, but you can say and be accurate and say like, this is connected to this. So people that have microplastics are associated with higher risk of this health condition. The problem is none of this is randomized control stuff. Nothing is clinical trials because we haven't done any human trials at all. We're all doing just like epidemiological, population-based,
gut
random
ovaries.
studies and
in a
looking at like, oh, this is
2024
correlated
study
with
published
this.
in the New
That's
England
all
Journal of
that
Medicine,
means. So whenever you hear
arterial plaque
this
in the
is
heart.
associated
People with
with,
microplastics
and she's
lodged
a
in their
doctor, so she
carotid
knows
arteries
that
had a higher
associated
risk of
with
heart
is
attack
different
and
from
stroke
caused
over
by.
a 3-year
So
follow-up.
let's see if you catch it again.
Gut and ovaries. And in a 2024 study published in the New
Period.
England Journal of
And
Medicine,
more recently,
in
the
arterial
presence
plaque
of
in the heart,
microplastics
people
in a
with
pregnant
microplastics
woman's body
lodged in
during
their
the first
carotid arteries
trimester
had a
has been
higher risk of
associated
heart attack
with
and
an
stroke
increased risk
over
of
a
miscarriage.
3-year
Now,
follow-up.
ingestion
Okay,
does
so
not
had a
equal
higher
absorption.
risk of heart
Not
attack and
every
stroke. Okay,
particle
so that's
you
an
swallow
association.
crosses that gut wall. Some do get excreted. But researchers began asking a more precise question. Is the rate of excretion fixed or could it be influenced? Let me share something with you that surprised me
Okay.
when I read it recently. A study found microplastic particles in human ovarian follicular fluid. That's the fluid inside a follicle that protects the egg or oocyte in the ovary. And researchers collected some from women undergoing IVF treatment. When I was working in the lab, I dissected follicles from rat ovaries by hand. Those follicles were around 1 millimeter in size that were small enough that if I was feeling shaky or something, a slight move of the hand could puncture and destroy them. A mature human follicle from an IVF patient undergoing hormonal stimulation might reach around 18 millimeters or over half an inch in diameter. The microplastic particles found inside the follicular fluid in this study averaged around 4 micrometers, which is roughly 17 times smaller than the width of a single human hair. This means that particles that small had traveled through the body, crossed into the circulation, and reached the interior of an ovarian follicle. And honestly, that felt so invasive to me when I read it, because that's pretty deep. And I say that as someone who has spent decades studying how environmental chemicals
So wait, why are
move through the body. And remember that this is not a reason to panic, but I want you to understand what we know about how these particles travel, where they're accumulating in the body, and what might influence how much of that actually happens. Current estimates suggest that we consume around 4 grams of plastic on average per week. Depending on your lifestyle and exposure habits, it could be even more. And it comes from things like drinking water, food packaging, seafood, table salt, and indoor air. And unlike most things that the body encounters, plastic is relatively inert, meaning there's no known mechanism for the body to metabolize it the way that it processes food. So plastic is coming in continuously from multiple sources, and the body cannot break it down. The only real question becomes how much of it moves through the gut before it crosses into our circulation. And that question matters more now than ever because
None of this
sources
is
of
objectionable.
exposure have multiplied in ways that became so normalized that most people don't think of them as exposures at all. So think back a generation ago, people were not drinking water from plastic water bottles every day, or reheating food in plastic containers, or making tea from plastic tea bags. These habits have become the baseline of modern day life, and they add up every single day across an entire lifetime. So So researchers started asking whether there was anything that could influence how much plastic the gut can clear before it crosses that barrier. A 2025 study published in Frontiers in Microbiology screened 784 probiotic strains specifically to find which ones could physically bind plastic particles. Most of them didn't do much, but two stood out. These two bacteria in particular have a surface chemistry that attracts plastic through a process called hydrophobic binding. The bacteria latch onto the plastic particle and the two clump together. And remember that donut hole analogy that I mentioned? That clump becomes large enough, it's not necessarily getting absorbed. Instead, it gets carried out through excretion in the feces. The two strains are Lactic casei bacillus and Lactobacillus plantarum. So both have GRAS status from the FDA, meaning they are generally recognized as safe, and both are found in fermented foods that people have been eating for thousands of years.
Sure.
The two strains are Lactic casei bacillus and Lactobacillus plantarum. So both have GRAS status from the FDA, meaning they are generally recognized as safe, and both are found in fermented foods that people have been eating for thousands of years.
Okay, so this generally recognized as safe, this is something that is actually, to actually meet these standards, there's a lot of testing that these different foods have to go through to be generally recognized as standards. To be actually something that's designated as generally recognized as safe, there's actually a lot of hoops that people have to jump through. So the fact that things are generally recognized as safe, something that you should always ask yourself is, how often does something become generally recognized as safe and then go from that to being not recognized as safe? Not that often. That's something to think about. So another thing is, like, a lot of the stuff she's saying, like, it's not wrong. She's not saying anything that's like wrong factually necessarily. The only thing that's wrong, I would say, is like the framing that like microplastics are like the worst thing ever for you, and that like you need to be avoiding plastics like the plague. The reality is we don't have any evidence of the degree to which microplastics might be causing some type of issue in our bodies. A lot of it is just kind of perspective stuff. There were similar things that were said initially about seed oils, and then we found out through a lot of studies, seed oils have a correlation with a lot of these risk factors, but it's mostly like heart disease, stuff like that. But a lot of people that eat food with a lot of oils are going to have a lot of heart disease things because they just probably eat a lot of fatty foods in general. So this is a correlation, it's not equal causation.
Let me go get my kimchi. So before I share the results, I want to be upfront about the limitations of this research because that context matters. This was a mouse.
Oh, wait, do you see her hedging? Wait, hold on. Do you see her hedging?
What we have is a proposed mechanism and animal data that warrants further investigation.
Mouse study. Okay.
And that is a meaningful distinction from confirmed human outcomes. So I'm not saying if you take this, it's going to do that, because that's not what the data indicate. But I'm sharing it because the mechanism is worth
she's being honest about that. I think that's fair.
Is consistent with what we already know about gut health and barrier function, which is that fermented foods can be incredibly helpful. Not necessarily for everyone, because I understand that some people might react differently, but in general, fermented foods and the bacteria found in fermented foods can help to support gut health. So I want you to remember, with that context, here is what the study found. Mice given these probiotic strains showed a 34% increase in microplastic excretion rate compared to control. And residual microplastics in the GI tract were reduced by up to 67%. Lactobacillus plantarum brought gut inflammation markers, including IL-6, TNF-alpha, and IL-1 beta, back down to near baseline levels, even after microplastic exposure. That inflammation finding is worth pausing on, because microplastic
67%. Lactobacillus plantarum brought gut inflammation markers, including IL-6, TNF-alpha, and IL-1 beta, back down to near baseline levels, even after microplastic exposure. That inflammation finding is worth pausing on, because microplastic...
Okay. So there's a reduction in inflammation even after microplastic exposure. Wouldn't that just be showing that the influence of microplastics is not that significant? Wouldn't that be what that means? By the way, this could all be true. This could be great. Like, I think I have no problem with fermented foods. Fermented foods are great. I like kimchi myself. I love kimchi. I got a big bottle in my fridge. Just saying, you don't have to worry about all of these different little things. Microplastics, seed oils, fluoride in the water, raw milk. Like, you don't have to worry about all these little things. They make such a small impact on our overall health. Like, that's the main message. Just be a cautious listener and know when there's a certain incentive for certain people to give certain types of information.
Don't just accumulate passively. Research suggests that they can trigger an immune response in the gut lining that contributes to low-grade inflammation over time, so gut inflammation.
Okay.
And the fact that this specific
like
probiotic strain can help moderate that response while also
Start the video.
potentially improving the clearance of microplastics. Now, this indicates a broader role for gut health in how the body can manage plastic exposure. So these are early findings, they're animal data. More research is needed, but the direction is worth paying attention to. And this part of the research is personal for me because I grew up on multiple rounds of antibiotics, eating the standard American diet with no awareness of fermented foods, and eventually developed increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And this showed up as like suddenly starting to react to certain foods that never bothered me before. And it wasn't until I worked with a functional medicine doctor, kept a food diary, and adjusted my diet that things started to improve. Some of these changes became permanent because I simply felt better, but that's my own experience. And this is why I take the gut barrier aspect of this research seriously because I have firsthand seen the impact of focusing on our gut health. What this tells us is not that probiotics solve the microplastic problem. What it suggests is that clearance through the gut may not be a fixed rate, meaning it can depend on what's living in your gut and of your gut barrier. And here's a part that I think deserves way more attention than it gets. These strains are supposed to already be in our gut. Fermented foods were a normal, everyday part of the human diet for thousands of years. But antibiotic use, ultra-processed food, and the gradual disappearance of fermentation from modern diets have slowly over time depleted lactobacillus populations in ways that don't necessarily show up as a diagnosis, and they don't necessarily feel like anything specific that can be easily pinpointed. We're also being exposed to more plastic than at any point in human history, while potentially carrying fewer of the bacteria that this research suggests can help to clear it. And so that depletion, it doesn't happen overnight. It's over a course of antibiotics here.
That's code word for there's not a lot of
alcohol,
studies,
months and months of not eating fermented foods, a low fiber diet, high stress, so on and so forth. Each of these things might not individually seem to be significant, but lactobacillus populations are sensitive to all of them, and they don't always recover without the right dietary
talking about the
input. And there's
antibiotics.
also a gut barrier dimension to this whole story that's worth understanding separately. A gut lining that is compromised through chronic inflammation, poor diet, or sustained stress is more permeable. That's exactly what I experienced. I came down with the intestinal permeability or leaky gut symptoms after I had been stressing for months and months and months. When I started a new job, I was studying to pass this big test and blah, blah, blah. Stress got to me, and boy, I felt it. And that means more microplastics can also cross when you have leaky gut because it's not a tight barrier. And this can happen regardless of whether the right bacteria are present in your gut or not. So supporting gut integrity is not a separate goal from supporting microplastic clearance. So based on what the research suggests, they may be part of the same picture. So let's bring this down to 3 concrete steps in order. First, reduce your sources of microplastic exposure in your diet because this is not a separate
What was that?
from supporting microplastic clearance. So based on what the research suggests, they may be part of the same picture. So let's bring this down to 3 concrete steps more. First, reduce your sources of microplastic exposure in your diet.
Okay, so you can do this. You can try to do this. I'm just telling you, you will absolutely not make a meaningful dent in the microplastic exposures you're getting by trying to reduce microplastics in your diet. It is in every single part of the food chain that we have. It's in sea salts, it's in seafoods, it's in meats, it's in vegetables because it's in the soil. It is absolutely an inescapable thing. Even if every single part of your meal never touches plastic. The reality is, it's in the soil where a lot of our crops are grown, and it's a lot of the soil that a lot of the feed is given to the animals. It's in every part of our food chain. Now, you could try to reduce your exposure through those means, and if you want to do that, that's great. Just you should be honest and not expect too much out of that type of change.
Bottled water. These are among the higher exposure habits
I'll
worth addressing
unpause the
first.
video.
Reduction at the source is almost always the most direct move, and it doesn't require waiting for
It is
additional
the primary
research
level.
or
That's
data.
true.
The second is to eat fermented foods containing these strains. Things like live cultured yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso are all good dietary sources. Variety across sources matter more than eating a whole bunch of one of these things. So aim to include at least one fermented food daily if you can tolerate it, and rotate between a few different types throughout the week rather than relying on the same source every single day. The third is to reduce what depletes these probiotic populations in the first place. So remember, unnecessary antibiotic use, ultra-processed against strains over time. So if you recently completed a course of antibiotics, that's a particularly useful time to be intentional about rebuilding through the diet. So a quick note on supplementation. So depending on the person, dietary and lifestyle changes might be sufficient to support your gut health without needing to add a probiotic supplement.
Lots of gut
But if you're
bacteria in
considering
general.
one, then I would talk to your healthcare provider, particularly if you are immunocompromised. So the research on microplastics and human health is still developing. It's definitely a hot area of research. I want to be clear about that. But what this study adds is a mechanism that is worth understanding. Your gut may have more influence over what gets absorbed and what gets cleared than we previously thought. And that means that the choices that you make around what you eat, unnecessary antibiotic use, alcohol consumption, and gut health are not separate from the conversation about chemical exposure. They're actually part of it. The gut clearance mechanism only does so much, though, if the incoming exposure pathways stay high. And most people are unknowingly loading up from sources that they would never think to question. And when researchers analyzed blood samples for contamination, they
I don't think
found
anyone's
that
shocked
just
about that one.
7 specific compounds were responsible for nearly all of it. Not dozens or hundreds of chemicals, 7. And they're showing up in places that most people would never suspect. Things like
It's
waterproof
impossible to
mascaras,
avoid, I promise
takeout
you.
containers, yoga pants. In the next video, I walk you through the exact framework I use to cut the majority of your home's toxic load, starting with the exposures that actually move the needle. So you know exactly where to focus without obsessing over every label or approaching this from a place of fear. I'll see you on the next video.
Yeah, I mean,
The exact framework I use to cut the majority of your home's toxic load, starting with the exposures that actually move
What
the
if I
needle.
told you
So you know exactly where to focus without obsessing over every label or approaching this from a place of fear. I'll see you on the next video.
so I don't even have that big of a problem with her take, in all honesty. Like, I think it's like she's slightly overemphasizing how big of a deal the microplastic stuff is, but I mean, the advice she's giving is like good advice. Like, fermented foods are really good. Try to take care of your gut health. Try not to overuse antibiotics. All of that's like fine advice. I just think it's she might be slightly overemphasizing the harms of microplastics, which I made a post on if you want to look and check that out. Now let's see. We'll do. Oh, I do want to do a how to deadlift video. and then I'll do the deadlift. I watched her video. Dr. Mike.
Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization.
We'll watch Dr. Mike's.
Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization.
All right. Oh. Oh. Okay. All right. Well. Where'd he go? Oh. Behind you. There we go. Why is Dr. Mike not talking?
Simple tips to increase your deadlift, starting now.
Oh.
I think we have 7 of them. Yep. Tip number 1 is to standardize your technique. A lot of folks, deadlift isn't going up, or they're not sure if they're getting stronger. They grip the bar different ways when they reach down. They grip it at different lengths. Their hips are at a different position. When their weights are light, they tend to stand up through full hip extension. When the weights get heavy, they tend to shoot the butt up. Non-standardized technique is a bad deal because your body is strongest when it's well practiced, and it can only be well practiced in a specific technique. So whatever technique you choose, same foot position, same knee position, same hand position, same chest position, replicate that over and over and over. Don't. Non-standardized technique is a bad deal because your body is strongest when it's well practiced, and it can only be well practiced in a specific technique. So whatever technique you choose, same foot positions, same knee positions, same hand positions, same chest position, replicate that over and over and over.
This is one of those things, you know, when those like people that are definitely natural, they're like 300 pounds of straight muscle, are in the gym and they're like, yeah, let's fucking go, yeah, let's fucking go, and they're just like super amped up. So there's like some like stupidity to that, but then there's also some wisdom to that. All right, when you do like a pre-lift ritual, it kind of gets you in the same kind of frame of mind that you should be for a big lift.
Don't deviate
So like,
from it.
if
Find
you
a technique
rehearse
that's
the
comfy
same
and works
setup
well,
every
and
single
practice
time, and you
without
do the same
changing
setup
stuff. If you go
every
sumo
single
one
time,
day and
it's
conventional
way
the
less
next,
likely that you're gonna
wider grip
make
one day
like
and closer grip the
some
next,
type
your
of
body's
really big form
confused and
mistake
you won't get as
in
good as
your
possible
heaviest
at
lift,
deadlifting.
and you're probably gonna be more consistent with the stuff.
Versus if you just did
Keep that in
one
mind.
technique and kept it same. So that's a big deal. Second, spend lots of time in the 3 to 6 repetition range. It's cool to pull deadlifts for doubles or singles. It's fun in a bodybuilding sense to do deadlifts for sets of 5 to 10. But basic strength is best trained in sets of 3 to 6 repetitions. And that's probably where you should be training a lot of your deadlift. Now, that sucks. It's heavy. It's hard. Multiple sets. You're not really showing off, but it's heavy enough to be really brutal. It is what it is, but it works the best, so give it some thought. Next. Best trained in sets of 3 to 6 repetitions. And that's probably where you should be training a lot of your deadlifts. Now, that sucks. It's heavy. It's hard. Multiple sets. You're not really showing off, but heavy enough to be really doable. It is what it is, but it works the best. So give it some thought.
I disagree. You actually can show off way more with those lower rep ranges than those sets of 10, 5 to 10. Because if you're doing like 3 to 6 reps, then you're going to be doing some big boy weight. You're not going to be doing some like dinky ass like 10 rep like, oh yeah, like I could do like 3 more. Like, no, you're doing some big boy weight.
It takes kind of a whole week for you to be able to go heavier and then some again.
More fun.
If you deadlift heavy twice a week, sometimes even more often, the disruption is so insane in just one of those sessions that the fatigue overlaps and it grows really fast, and within a few weeks you're super weak on the deadlift again. But you could say, well, how's that a problem? Just train deadlift once a week. But hold on. Once a week is not enough to practice the technical qualities of the deadlift, the actual movement pattern. Because remember, from point number 1, the movement pattern is huge in order to ingrain to become stronger. A lot of times, the only reason powerlifters are stronger than bodybuilders isn't because their muscles are bigger. Sometimes they're smaller. They just really grooved into that one single lift, which they practice all the fucking time. Bodybuilders do other lifts, so their specific strength for that lift is not really good. So you can be overall have a stronger legs and stronger core and stronger back than someone, but they deadlift more just because they practice the deadlift a lot. But if you can only deadlift heavy once a week, how the hell are we supposed to practice it more than that? The answer is lighter sessions. Do sets of 3 to 6 reps with like 70% or 60% or even 50% of your 1 repetition max at least one other time during the week. If you deadlift twice, maybe 2 sessions are relatively light and 1 session is hard and heavy. That way you get tons and tons of practice with the deadlift motion without coming in hitting a huge fatigue wall, because such small number of sets with a small number of reps with a weight that's very light allows you to practice your technique a ton, but doesn't impose a whole lot of fatigue on you, possibly not at all. That's a great thing, and I really, really highly recommend it. So, worst case, you deadlift once a week with some whatever accessory you do, and another time a week, maybe with legs or something, you start or finish the workout with 3 or 4 sets of 3 to 6 reps, ultra light in the deadlift. That practice alone will make your harder days on the deadlift next week go better, and you'll be stronger, and you'll feel technically more proficient. So give that some thought. Next, point number 4 is doing the right accessory work. A lot of the great accessory lifts for deadlifting target various parts of the deadlift musculature, which there are really 3 muscles that contribute a ton to the deadlift. It is the musculature of your hamstrings, that of your glutes, which is almost never a limiting factor because your glutes are really, really strong, and the musculature of the erector spinae complex, the spinal erectors. Those are the predominant muscles that are really, really involved and limiting factors in deadlifting. Talk later about another mystery muscle that you can work on, but here, the point is we want exercises that target those really well. And what are those exercises? Stiff-legged deadlift can target the hamstrings a ton, the glutes a ton, and the spinal erectors to some extent. Good mornings, same. Deficit deadlift can require a lot of all of that, but specifically the glutes and the erector complex, because you have to move through a huge range of motion, and some of that is going to be actual active flexion and extension of the erector complex, which is really great, makes it really strong. You can use flexion rows, which are a type of row in which you round and then arch your entire back, your entire spinal cord. It's actually a dynamic way of training the spinal erectors, which is different because most deadlift variants are static. The spinal erectors are isometrically contracted, they don't move. And isometric training is fine for muscle, but it's not the best. Dynamic training is better. So flexion rows are great. And of course other things like deadlift with bands and so on and so forth. Notice, I didn't really say a whole lot about regular barbell rows, because regular barbell rows are primarily designed to train the musculature that pulls your elbows behind you, and that's not a function in the deadlift. That's not what the deadlift does. There are absolutely some lat work involved in the deadlift, but not a ton. Lats are usually in the very shortened position, and they're usually in isometric contraction, and it's really quite rare that they are a super big limiting factor. With just your normal back training, which you should be doing anyway, and with all this stuff, especially with a properly done stiff-legged deadlift, which you pull into yourself, you should have plenty of that sort of work lined up. Number Number 5. Treating your spinal erectors as a dynamic muscle to train is a really, really good idea. Because spinal erectors are the single most determinative muscle of deadlift strength. When your back starts to go from relatively flat to round because your spinal erectors are insufficiently strong, your central drive, your nervous system's ability to tell all of your other muscles, like your hamstrings and your glutes, to turn on and pull, declines rapidly because your body perceives an instability, it perceives a source of potential injury, and it just kind of says, whoa, easy, fellas. It's like trying to jump really high off of a sheet of ice. Your central drive, your nervous system's ability to tell all of your other muscles, like your hamstrings and your glutes, to turn on and pull, declines rapidly because your body perceives an instability, it perceives a source of potential injury, and it just kind of says, whoa, easy. It's like trying to jump really high off of a sheet of ice.
One thing about the spinal erectors thing, and the lats thing in general, yeah, it's pretty true. Like, if your lats are part of the reason that you're failing a deadlift, you have really, really weak lats. Like embarrassingly weak. Like, you're gonna like bend over to pick a box and then hurt yourself, and then like you're gonna be out of the gym. Like, you should never ever fail a deadlift based on your lats. Most of it is isometric. That being said, like, you still will feel a decent amount of a pump from your lats. I actually get sore in my lats a lot of times when I deadlift. At least when I haven't deadlifted in a while when I come back. But in general, yeah, like, I wouldn't take the deadlift as like, oh, I don't need to train my lats. I'm doing a deadlift. Like, no, you still need to train it.
Strong enough to pull way bigger deadlift numbers than they are, but their backs aren't strong enough. That's why the deadlift is considered a back exercise in many cases, because the spinal erectors are such the limiting factor, and you should be training them. They're great to train with deficit pulls, for example, especially deficit pulls which require such a big deficit that you have to round your back to get them. You got to play with load management here. You can't go ultra heavy, but sets of 5 to 10 with deficit pulls can be an unbelievable back builder that can translate to giving you a more muscular back that you can isometrically contract later on regular deadlifts. And of course, flexion rows are a great option. Any kind of row on a machine where you go into a full flex position, and then at the top you go into a fully extended position. In addition to that, staying super upright and super tight and super arched back with stiff-legged deadlifts and even heavy deadlifts for repetitions also grows the spinal erectors. So you want those nasty cables in the middle of your back. If you build those muscles, your deadlift will go up. It's absolutely a thing. Now, if you've been deadlifting for a while and it's gotten stale on you, sometimes not deadlifting at all is the best thing to do. Because lifts do get stale, the stimulus to fatigue ratio of the deadlift starts to fall, and it has already gone from our inclusion criteria of what is a good exercise. The only reason you're putting it in, or keeping it in rather, is because you're specializing on it. We say there's sort of 2 reasons to do an exercise. 1, you want to focus on it, and 2, it's got a good stimulus to fatigue ratio. When one of those drops off, yeah, we're still training the deadlift. To say we're training for deadlift, check the box the specificity thing, but we're not actually getting very good training. Could be getting very bad training. Training is so bad it is insufficient to exceed your body's current adapted level, and then you just don't get any better. Fuck that. Better than that, take the deadlift if it's feeling really stale and just throw it away. And do multiple months of deficit pulling, flexion rows, all sorts of other work, stiff-legged deadlifts, and get those lifts going up nice and high. Then a couple months later, when the deadlift is something like you picked up and played around with it and tried it in the gym, it's feeling real fresh. Then come back to it, ease in, you'll get mega gains because that'll be novel. Its stimulus to fatigue ratio will be high again. You'll be able to really, really convert. And the entire time that you stayed away from the deadlift, you were working on all of the muscles and movements that contribute to a big deadlift, but not the deadlift itself. So you've lost no time at all. You've gained a ton of ground, in fact. And lastly, grip can be a huge factor in the deadlift. It's actually been shown that if humans grab thinner bars, they can generate more pulling force than if they grab thicker bars. Check this out. Even regardless of if they're strapped into the device. If you
Damn, I agree with him too much. I'm getting bored.
Thinner bars, they can generate more pulling force than if they grab thicker bars. Even regardless of if they're strapped into the device.
Okay, this is a big thing that people don't understand. Grip strength will directly translate to more strength on pulling exercises especially, but even for pushing exercise. So there's something called, what was it called? Oh yeah, there's something called irradiation, which is basically when you squeeze on a bar or you have a very tight grip on something, the electrical signals localized to that area will actually go up the chain towards those other parts of your body, towards those other muscles, and they can actually help them contract more, which basically just translates to the tighter that you squeeze the bar, the stronger you are in any given lift. And it applies a lot more for pulling exercises because grip is a bigger factor in pulling exercises, but it's something to know. Work on your grip strength. You can see huge gains in your strength.
Feel like you can grip harder because the bar.
I'm so easily distracted. Okay. The reason I said that is because the reason a deadlift bar is thinner than a standard Olympic bar is actually because it lets you grip more. One, it's thinner. And then two, it actually has more flexion, and so it bends a little bit more when there's more weight on either end. So technically you don't have to pick up the deadlift bar as high as if it was a stiff bar, which usually the Olympic bars will be a little bit more stiff than a deadlift bar.
As soon as you pull the weight and
Something
your fingers start to go, your body's central drive to your quads, your hams, your glutes, your spinal rectors goes down. Because if you're unstable and losing something, your body won't let you generate so much force that it rips it out of your hands. It believes you when you say you want to hold on to this. As soon as you pull the weight and your fingers start to go, your body's central drive to your quads, your hams, your glutes, your spinal rectors goes down.
Yes, your whole body.
Because if you're unstable and losing something, your body won't let you generate so much force. Okay, we can hold on, but if we slow the weight down. But if you slow the weight down, you start missing lift.
Yes.
Now, of course, straightforwardly, if you can pull 500 with straps,
lifting, this is just true in physics too. Any engineer can tell you the more stable a structure is, the more strong or the more integrity the structure has.
If you increase your grip, two amazing things happen. One is straightforwardly, if grip was actually the limiting factor for you, automatically now it's less, and you can just do
How is that not hitting?
Same glute, same hams, same spinal rector complex. Bigger grips equals bigger deadlift if grip is limiting factor.
Hey, shout out.
If you increase your grip, two amazing things happen. One is straightforwardly, if grip was actually limiting factor for you, automatically now it's less, and you can just do deadlift way more. Same glute, same hams, same spinal rector complex. Bigger grips equals bigger deadlift if grip is limiting factor.
Not just deadlift. I actually literally, when I was trying to hit 315 on bench, I was at like 305 for a really long time, and I had this really big sticking point. And every time I tried to hit 315, I would always fail the lift. And I always felt like I had the lift. I felt like I had the strength, but I just couldn't get past that hurdle. The thing that got me over that last hurdle was actually training the bench with these fat grips. So there are these extra little grips thing you can get for like 15 bucks, and you can put them on the bar. Oh, sorry guys, just messed with your headphones. If you put on those thicker things for the bar, then one, it adds a slight camber to the bar, so you're getting a little bit more depth on the bench. It makes it a little bit harder. And then two, your grip strength is not as good on the bar when you have to grab a thicker bar. So that little thing, I trained that for 2 weeks, and then the next time I tried 315, I got it no problem. Just because I was able to contract more confidently and harder because I had better grip strength from that grip training. So something is very underrated. I'll probably make a video on that.
And they actually get bigger lifts. That's a big deal. So abso-friggin-lutely, get a bigger grip, and the best way to do that is probably working with the captains of Crush Grippers. So go on ironmind.com, no affiliation, just a huge fan. Get you some trainer captains of Crush Grippers, and they have grippers all the way up the chain, from like you can barely grab a pencil all the way to you can crush people's hands when you shake their hands. And they have all the grippers so you can periodize, do sets of 5 to 10 with a gripper. All of a sudden, first of all, your forms are going to get big, and also you're just going to be way, way, way more able to
I think those are the ones I had.
do your best at gripping, and thus have a bigger deadlift. Simple enough? Sweet. Folks, we will see you next week for the advanced advanced periodization version of if you can actually spot some distinct problems in your deadlift, we'll teach you an advanced periodization for how to fix them so you can finally pull big. And we'll really just have a reason to be around. Because if you can't deadlift heavy, I think as John Paul Sigmerson once said, what is exactly that you're doing on this earth? See you next time.
Wow.
Some distinct problems in your deadlift, we'll teach you an advanced periodization for how to fix them so you can finally pull big. And really just have a reason to be around. Because if you can't deadlift heavy, I think as John Paul Sigmerson once said, what is exactly that you're doing on this earth?
True.
See you next time.
That's King, Mike Israelov. There you go. This mouse, it says I want to cooperate. Oh, okay. It's decided to stay connected. Okay, cool. Like telling people to get some cough grippers. Crazy. Alright. Honestly, we talk about deadlift so much. Oh, shit. What else? Oh. Let's see.
Rise is a 55-hour live
Alpha
event
male
where
boot camps
men
good for
come
all
to
men.
be
Oh my.
challenged
Wait, okay, now
across
that
all
seems-
domains.
That seems,
Bullshit.
that seems too good.
That most you don't belong here. I see your eyes already. Your souls are mine.
Holy shit.
I want to learn how to become an alpha male.
I did not see that coming, Scott. How ethical is this? Check out that right. Oh, shit. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. I have been
See, some people just really get off to just like either bullying people or just creating like the most
pathetic,
emotionally unstable people.
one thing for sure, a man, baby. And the way I became a man was this. I started out as a completely biological female. Scott remembers this, he used to hit on me all the time. Shit taste. I went to one
Same.
male boot camp, and not only did I become a man, but I became an alpha man. That is the only Greek letter I'm interested in knowing. What kind of boot camp experience did I have? I'll tell you more about this in today's episode as we look at the male boot camp space and see what part of it is science and what part of it is just people that maybe just need a friend.
Damn.
Which I sure as shit do.
Whoa.
So, Scott. What kind of boot camp experience did I have? I'll tell you more about this in today's episode as we look at the male boot camp space. To see what part of it is science. What part of it is will you be my friend? Just need a friend. No.
All right, let me.
I'm just gonna say
Let me
it's
pick that episode to the
a
side.
lot of it.
Okay.
A lot of them just need
We'll
a friend.
check in with
you know?
Scott later.
I'm not gonna be a friend, but some they just need a hug.
Men have been raised to be weak and feminine.
Definitely yes.
I guess. I'll be your friend, alright?
Men have been raised to be weak and
Men have been raised to be weak and feminine.
Wait, hold on, wait, what were the pictures? Hold on, wait.
men have been raised to be weak and
What is this? Wait, hold on. What are we looking at here? Okay, something tells me this is not the typical male image, you know? I don't think most guys, I think most guys would be pretty not familiar with
Definitely
this
yes.
way of
Would out of 10.
showing their
Lipstick is hot.
masculinity. Something tells me that. I could be wrong, but maybe
and,
I'm just, I'm just a beta male, so,
honestly,
but
those
I
are
think,
just cute. That's
I
absolutely
don't think
would.
that's typical. Something tells me that.
I don't like these
That's my guess.
antagonistic posture. Scott, of the guy all the way on the right. His hair is amazing. The posture I don't like, so. Lipstick is hot.
True, yeah.
Love me a short skirt and honestly,
Sporty.
those cute armpits absolutely would. I don't like these antagonistic posture. Scott, of the guy all the way on the right. His hair is amazing.
Here's what he doesn't understand, alright?
Two
That
outfits.
antagonistic posture is for him to
I'm
show
sure there's a lot of
that
science
he's an
backing
alpha
this one
male.
up.
That he's
So
in
what is the
charge of the
answer?
situation
Scott, are we reviewing
because
the man who's reviewing
he
the video?
goes by his
Just
own
a
rules.
little
All right.
background for the
He doesn't follow
Background for the
society's
folk.
rules, you know.
First science
He makes his
question.
own rules because he's an
Is
alpha.
it true
All right.
that men
He
have
doesn't
been
understand.
raised to be
I get you.
weak and feminine? No, that's not true at all. Are men nowadays being raised to be more civilized? Yeah, probably. Does that mean
That's
weak
all
and
science,
feminine? I
yeah.
don't know. Scott, you raised to be weak and feminine? Was your dad like, hey, I want you to play with these dolls, god damn it?
No, I think the opposite. I was encouraged to like do sports and throw rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Run around and be wild.
Yeah.
I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a different time.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, my mom would rub my back. My dad would walk by and be like, "Oh, you're making him soft." So,
When your mom rubs my back, it doesn't make me. Alright. Sometimes I forget where we're at.
my parents do watch these videos.
Oh no!
Maybe not these ones.
This is the time. I apologize.
Not what we said last night.
So what is the answer? Better fathers? Nope. It's paying thousands of dollars to LARP as a Navy SEAL and have other men humiliate you.
It sounds like our photo shoot from last night, Scott. Oh, no, sorry. He said Navy SEALs.
Damn.
Semen in the brain. And my parents do watch these videos.
Parents, they turned it off after that one.
Better friends, better fathers, better leaders.
They're stuck in a rut. They've lost that fire. They've lost that edge as a man.
I would follow that man anywhere. I mean, he's got the voice. Scott, have you ever taken someone not seriously enough and then paid attention to how thick their eyebrows were and instantly recanted?
Got like a white Goggins vibe.
Yes.
Better fathers. I don't know if that's what they're learning from this. Something tells me they're not really think of how they're gonna be as fathers.
Become more of a man. Stay Jewish. Easy choice. For 18,000, shit.
Suffering.
Oh my God, they're dragging that young man.
They've lost that fire. They've lost that edge as a man. Suffering leads to those superpowers.
Suffering doesn't lead to superpowers. Incrementally surmounting progressively more difficult goals does. In a boot camp like
What is happening?
if you have enough suffering that you overcome, not just get bashed in the face with and just feel a total loss of agency, which means typically being dragged.
I'm not sure about
not
that.
high agency behavior. If you feel empowered after a boot camp like that, then empowerment and you continue to thread it into your life, where you attack your career goals, you attack your lifting goals, you attack your nutrition goals, you attack females. I said that wrong. Ask nice girls out on dates. Yes, it can make you a better person. So if the boot camp is an empowering but very difficult boot camp, yeah. If it's just people making fun of you and calling the R word all the time and then dragging you through the mud, that for some people has a good effect, but for most people will be like a painful memory from which the toughness you gained will recede mere weeks after you're gone. It's the consistent keeping up the training and having battles that you sometimes lose but mostly win. That's how you make toughness.
It starts off very loud, chaotic, and violent. They're forced to fight each other.
You know, you can pay way less money and just join a BJJ or Muay Thai gym, build an actual skill set, and it works way better, and there's plenty of fighting where that came from. Way more, actually. And you learn how to fight instead of getting the shit beat out of you by random dudes.
In June of 2020, a participant
Loud, chaotic,
died
and
during
violent.
a session. His family sued for wrongful death, alleging a failure to provide necessary medical care, though the parties settled a few years later.
Holy shit. Like, that does happen every now and again from hard training. You know, people have heart attacks randomly from congenital defects and just like weight training by themselves in their garage. I don't know the details of this case.
Huh?
It's looked up.
He just wasn't hard enough, alright?
It's boot camp.
Just wasn't hard enough, I guess.
Right. One case doesn't prove a whole lot.
That's actually
Project
crazy.
works beyond us. It's right. I mean, we'd all agree. There's something divine about the project. That's it. We're doing God's work.
Right, yeah, that happens a lot.
Strange way.
Okay. God's like, all right, I'm able to save some children in Africa today, but I have to look over this boot camp. So, sorry.
Pretty crazy.
Children.
The project cost $18,000. 37 people at $18,000 each.
God's work, oh, man.
$6,000 in revenue.
I don't know if God would agree with that one.
Listen, we can start a boot camp.
Can you imagine that we hire people to be coaches, And we hire RP Hypertrophy app, removes all uncertainty and makes the training process precisely defined. Choose your pre-made workout plan from dozens available in the app.
Oh,
plug in
man.
your weights, and the app takes care of the rest for months of productive training.
There are much better uses for your money.
Description of this video,
18 G's? Man.
That most of you don't belong here.
Do I get a refund then?
And I'll be damned, I'll take this knife off my waist and carve this tattoo off my hand before I let any of you.
Whoa, he's really getting after it. This guy's the fucking man, bro. And he's wearing a knife on himself. Intense.
True. That's a great question. Look.
To me, that seems slightly disempowering. I guess when you like get shit out
God, he's so
and then you
cool.
don't break, or if you
He's
break
so
and
cool.
pick yourself up again and motivate yourself again, and you're with your buddies and you have some camaraderie.
That's so cool.
After that,
Damn.
camp, you can feel like I can
For an alpha
I'm
male.
a real man. That guy's definitely got some value to it, for sure, for sure. What you don't want is to have that camp prove to you that you suck.
A little bit.
Everyone kind of did better than you at camp. You like had 5 emotional breakdowns. The coach mostly yelled at you, and because you paid $18,000, you didn't literally die. He has to give you an award for completing the camp at the end. That would be a not great way to experience that. Yeah.
When they quit, they're forced to ring the bell in front of everyone. No refund.
Oh, cool. That's like the Navy SEALs do. I did not see that coming, Scott.
Yeah, but do you want to be an alpha male? All right, like, if you want to be the alpha male, you're gonna go through a lot of struggle. All right.
Whoa, cool. I usually have to pay 780-pound dominatrix a significant amount more than $18,000 to get this exact thing done. It's a good deal.
And now we've reached the point where this alpha male boot
I know
camp
about
becomes a kink fetish fantasy for these military bros.
Pause. And what's wrong with that? Also, isn't it a kink fetish fantasy for the people paying? And again, what's wrong
That's
with
true.
that?
They're getting a
Start to
deal.
judge people's
Honestly.
kinks. People are gonna hack your laptop.
It is.
All of a sudden, turns out you're fucking weirder than everyone else.
Ah. Exactly. Yeah.
So they're
Are you
supposed
gonna
to try
kink
to
shame
crawl
them?
up the hill, Scott, and this young gentleman pulls them back down? Reminds
Yeah.
me of my summer camp experience. Less people physically defecating.
Skeletons coming out of the closet.
I had
Look.
experienced at summer camp. Less forcing me to eat it while everyone laughed. Am I traumatized?
Stop moving, and I'm gonna pull you down the hill.
Ah.
That guy's job's hard, man. I don't want to drag people around all day. These boot camp people are earning their
Oh.
money. I'll give them that.
I think you're just
I
fine,
would
Mike.
scratch you.
Stop moving, you're coming back down the hill.
Harsh.
Community service, decluttering.
They're doing God's work. Their words, you know, not mine.
Scott, remember when you and I signed up for a boot camp and we got to wear matching T-shirts
I
and do community
miss
service, and then 3 years later we realized we were in a religious cult?
It was a fun time, though.
It was a good time. A lot of long hair and moo-moos. The leader was great, the best person ever. Folks, I have 2 offers for you real quick. The first is our members area, which is a longer, uncut version of this video with a ton of other amazing scientific content for very little money, huge value. Check it out, click around, sign up for the membership if that's up your alley. The second offer is we are starting an RP Psycho Boot Camp where you could die or become a real man. Click around and find out what that is. There's no money back guarantee, and you waive all of your rights right up front. See you there. Back to the video.
Rise is a 55-hour live event
Holy shit.
where men come to be challenged
Whoa.
across all domains.
Bullshit.
I do want to
Scott,
become a
how
real
many
man.
integrals do you think they're fucking doing? Like, this is called differential equation.
Sign me up.
This really is all domains. Next up, poetry.
They cannot go back to life the way they knew it because they are a different.
It's live. It's not remote. It's not over Zoom.
This actually
Wait.
works, fellas. This can fuck you up. This can
Sign
really
me
get
the
into
frick
something.
up, dude.
It's got to be the right match for the individual and the coaching style and everything, and it's got to be starting from demeaning the shit out of you and then gradually empowering you. If they do that right, this can be a transformative experience.
The opportunity to have men that they bled with, that they were tired and hungry and wet and cold with, and then sharing all of those pains, the bond that gets created at an event like this is unlike any other. So the true sense of the word brotherhood, it really means something different.
Gender affirming practice. Dude, their balls are gone, bro.
Ice baths. Ooh. I've still yet to do an ice bath. I did a lot of cold showers back in the day, but...
That's cool. Aiden gets the assignment.
Yeah.
This is dope.
The weight of defense represents everything.
How are you going to be an alpha male without any balls?
To this point. Everything that has been...
Hey, that guy's helping. That's nice.
Placed upon your heart, placed upon your body, placed in your mind as a weight that you've had to shoulder, that you've had to burden all these years. Something you have to consider is that the weight on our shoulders is something that we carry, but yet how many other people outside of us and around us see?
Mike, what do you feel about physical events as metaphors?
Limited in effect. That's dope. I love the metaphor.
Oh, I did it just in time. Wait,
for like the 10 minutes that he says that to you when you're doing the shit. It probably won't be something that meaningfully changes your life later, because here's the thing, all the shit you're carrying, there's nothing a weekend of anything can do to delete all that shit out of your head. You're gonna still be carrying basically the same amount of shit. It's long-term lifestyle transformation to harden up that will make you more empowered. It's getting into combat sports, getting into lifting, it's getting into a tough career. Here's something that'll man you up. Raising a family properly. Nothing.
Okay, this is a good run.
Chest like raising a goddamn bunch of kids. That shit's tougher than any of this shit. And so if you do that diligently over years, you will become a man, and you will
Boring.
demons.
Long time.
Could be a cool kickstart.
Lifestyle transformation is boring. All right.
For many people,
and I want to be an alpha male. All right.
These camps work for some people. And I think the vast majority of the folks that run these camps are really good people trying to help other men in the way they know best, which is to give men profoundly difficult experiences, break down everything in your brain that is resisting anything, build you back up, show you that you are capable of unreal amounts of pain tolerance and survival, and show you are capable of surmounting. Does it always work out like that? Absolutely not. There's a lot of this gigantic waste of time and money. Yeah, there's people running boot camps that have no fucking business doing it. Especially if some of the folks running it are ex-special forces, and if they have a plan for how to really build you up after they break you down, could be a good thing. Is it worth $18,000? That is for you to decide. But the only thing I have as advice for the rest of this video is, the boot camp can kick you into high gear. What's really, really important is you continue to progressively challenge yourself over time. That doesn't mean beat the shit out of yourself. That doesn't mean insult yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient. Be kind. Put in the work. Get tired, rest. Come back, put in the work. Over time, whatever it is you're working on, anything in your life that you're working on, it's the progressive exposure of doing more and more and more and harder stuff that makes you really tough. It's not a goddamn thing you can do in 3 days that's going to make you tough forever. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel you can see to how to get tough, which is exactly that. Progressive overload and becoming better. That's it. I rate boot camps as a good for some people, terrible for some people, out of 12. I've been Dr. Mike, and I'll see you next time. Woo. That was really something. But you want more, don't you? This video right here has got exactly what you need. How did I know that? Just watch. See you next time. Scott, my soul.
Okay. What is this? Oh, okay. I think it's I'll be honest, I kind of stopped paying attention instead of locking in. But in general, like you can get stronger through struggle and all of that. The boot camp, it's not worth $18,000, right? For 55-hour experience, right? There's probably better ways to develop yourself, improve yourself. But the better ways to make yourself better are always the boring ways, unfortunately. This has that aesthetic of, being forged through fire, being like, I don't know. You just get better through like struggling experiences, blah, blah, blah. There's like a lot of that's romanticized, but you can judge whether or not that stuff is good for you. I feel like it's kind of a waste of time, but I think there are better, more productive ways to go about like self-improvement stuff. But I don't know. That's up to you.